how do you finalize the deal? How do you actually make the sale so it makes all that preparation and effort worthwhile?
Yeah, typically, the term is closing the sale.
Yes.
I've always been uncomfortable with that because it seems like something that happens at the end where, like from the very beginning, I had sales trainers and managers say, well, look, you got to close early. You got to close often. You got to close late. You got to close the number of times people say no, +1. You know, that kind of stuff. And I, always a little discomforted by that. And I thought it's really not a close; it's an opening. Because once the sale is made, that person's life is supposed to move on and be enriched and enhanced in some way. And certainly mine should be rewarded for my effort. So closing never seemed like a very good phrase. And over the years, where I kind of moved back to the point where I call it persuasive finalizing. I was wrapping it up, getting it done for the sake of everybody involved. And so there's a little bit different languaging, a little bit different perspective when I start talking about closing sales.
Well, also many people, salespeople, are in a profession where they're doing repeat business with clients. And so definitely in that arena, you'd want to create an opening, a porthole through which you could do future business, more business, bigger business, better business.
Exactly. One of the things, when they say close early, close often, close late, and yet the other language seemed to conflict with that. It was something that happened at the end with the presenting of a contract or whatever. And so I had to come up with a definition for closing because it was important to have the right definition. I know one definition that I captured very early in my sales career was Charles Roth in his great book, Secrets of Closing Sales. He said that a salesperson that doesn't close sales is not a salesperson. He's a conversationalist. Nice old boy, out entertaining people and having great visits, but he's not a salesperson. You got to get the job done for the sake of everybody. And so closing was important, but then again, we had to re-identify it. And so there was a point in there where I determined a definition of a close. And it was something that a salesperson does, which could include, by the way, not doing anything. I mean, that's doing something. If you purposely not doing anything.
Making a decision.
Exactly. But it's something that a salesperson does that a prospect has to keep a person from doing, has to stop it, in order to avoid progressing toward a sale. In other words, in truth, that makes the knock on the door, the dialing of a phone, or the walking through an office door a close. So, in other words, that's something that a salesperson does that the prospect has to keep them from doing. For example, if they don't answer the phone, the call is over. Or if they don't answer the door, the call is over. If they don't receive you in the office, the call is over. But if they do, if they say yes, and you say hi, and they say hi, that's movement. So that's the idea. Now we begin to keep the call alive. If you say, I'm sorry to trouble you this morning, if I have, and they say, well, it's okay, I was wondering if you could do me a favor, so long as it doesn't cost you any money. That's a close. So everything that you do to keep that call alive and keep it moving can be considered a close. However, none of it works. None of it works if you don't have a prospect.
Right.
So you can be the strongest closer in the world, and if you don't have a prospect, as we defined it here the last 3 weeks ago, then you're wasting your time, and you're impinging upon that person's time. And I think that's a consideration that we have to have if we're going to be really professional.